We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. By the time you listen to it, it's Tuesday, but I'm recording this on Monday night, and this is a Substack Live. I love doing the Substack Live. Last time I did it with Will. Today, I'm doing it by myself because I got a lot of shit to talk about. There's just so much stupid shit, and this week is going to be so fucking crazy. We got the Epstein files to be released on the 19th, which is Friday. We got to decide whether or not they're going to come up with a way to extend the subsidies on the ACA. And if they don't do that, all kinds of fucking disaster is going to follow it. So this is a busy week going into this Tuesday as you're listening to this on the podcast, and Monday night if you're on the Substack Live. It's going to get a little interesting. We got a lot of people coming in, and as I've told you before, you folks participating, joining in, making comments, asking questions are crucial to how this live goes. So I'm counting on you. Stuart Cohen says Donald Trump personifies stupid shit. That's the fucking thing about it. That's the thing about it that bothers me the most. It's one thing if you've got a bad politician, if you got somebody making bad choices, but every goddamn day it's something fucking ignorant. It's something stupid, something everybody should be able to recognize. And most of us do, except the dumb fucks that follow Donald Trump. Jose says, hello, everybody, Boomer. Thank you. Let's talk about the situation with Rob Reiner and his wife murdered in their own home, apparently by their son. It's a tragic situation, absolutely tragic. You expect to hear from certain people as to what they believe or their sympathies or their condolences. Donald Trump comes out. It's a very sad day. Rob Reiner and his wife were passed away in their house. And then he goes on to rip Rob Reiner, the guy that isn't even cold yet. And this motherfucker's talking about how he has Trump derangement syndrome and he was acting so terribly that he angered people and this is why it happened to him. This is fucking dumb. That's stupid. This is Donald Trump. He can't take anything that grabs attention unless he can put it back on himself. This has nothing to do with Donald Trump, has nothing to do with politics. It's some family issue, and it is absolutely tragic. But Jesus Christ. And then he gets all kinds of backlash for this. They're kicking his ass. Even the Republicans are coming after him. And somebody gives him a chance to back off of it to say, well, I maybe misspoke. He was a very talented guy. It's a sad thing. Couldn't even fucking do that. He had to double down. He had to triple down. He said, well, he was a pretty deranged guy. I didn't like him at all. Well, of course you didn't like him because he called you out. He was a legitimate wealthy guy doing the right things, helping people, the opposite of what Donald Trump is. He just doesn't like that shit. All right, Spacer says, I hope everyone will enjoy their holiday season despite the circumstances of this motherfucking shit. Excuse my language. Happy Hanukkah currently, and happy holidays to everyone. Yes, absolutely. I wish you all the best holidays for whichever holiday you celebrate. My family, it's Christmas. It's one thing for the old people, and even my kids are now in their 30s. But I got two grandkids, one that's 5, one that's 6 months old. That's what makes Christmas fun, and I'm looking forward to it. Maybe taking the kids out sliding, getting them the presents they want. Just have fun and spend time with family. And we almost have to do that. We almost have to break away from the bullshit that we deal with every goddamn day. Relax for a day or two and not focus on the tragedies and atrocities that continually happen day in and day out in this country with Donald Trump as the leader. With this thing with Rob Reiner, people were asking me, do you think this is the one thing that will get people to go against him? Yeah, some people will go against him, but the dumb fucks won't. They won't. I mean, he can do virtually anything. He's the one that said he could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue. And we thought that was funny. We thought that was a stupid comment. 10 years later, we're now finding out it's fucking true. These people are so despicable that they will follow him no matter how embarrassing, no matter how stupid, no matter how atrocious. All right, Spacer says the double standard with Charlie Kirk, though Trump making him about himself is normal. That's how fucked up this is. Yeah, that's the funny thing. Donald Trump's crying for people not being upset enough about the murder of Charlie Kirk. But when this happens, he just goes the opposite way and he thinks that's fine. Now, some Republicans have said, should stop that motherfucker because, this wasn't about politics. And the funny thing is, when asked about the Charlie Kirk murder, um, Rob Reiner was very gracious and very decent, something Donald Trump is not capable of. Spacer says, "R.I.P. Rob Reiner." Absolutely. I don't know that people understand how much impact he had. Numerous classic movies that we all watched as we were growing up. And if you're old enough, you remember him on uh, um, what's the name of the All in the Family. He was Meathead. His father, who died recently, was a huge star too. Carl Reiner. He was a writer, a director, a producer. You might remember him in the Dick Van Dyke Show. He was Alan Brady, the boss. Um, and he passed away of natural causes. He was nearly 100 years old, so that was expected. This is just a sad situation, and I can't imagine what goes into a situation like this. A relatively nice guy. His son had troubles with drugs. There was an argument apparently at Conan O'Brien's Christmas party, and then it ended up like this. I can't even imagine. I fucking can't even imagine. I mean, I had a horrible dad, and he was a piece of shit, and he made me angry. I don't think I would have killed him though. Well, maybe some days, but I didn't, and I wouldn't because that's just batshit crazy. Jose says, I don't want you to want to watch the news anymore. You got to stay informed. Every day is such a good show. Yeah. Hillary was right. Whoever voted for Trump was deplorable. Isn't that the truth? All in the family. Absolutely, JD. Um, Stuart Cohen, film called Misery was unprecedented. Yeah, that movie. I remember seeing it with my wife. We were very young at the time. And that was kind of a frightening movie. The scene that made weirded me out the most is when um, the crazy woman had James Caan tied to the bed and she hobbled him. She had his feet in between some wood and she hit him with a fucking sledgehammer. Jesus Christ. That was graphic as shit. Spacer says MAGA will be pariahs after this is over, similar to the Confederacy after the war. They deserve the shame and hatred they inflicted on other people, on themselves. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think what people are going to be surprised by the people that stand by Donald Trump till the end. They will go off the cliff with him. He will be a pariah, and they will be deemed unredeemable. Uh, Not just because there's political differences, it's because of literally the atrocities they caused in this country, from the deportations, the detention camps, the pain and suffering, putting all these people through. And I got to tell you, if they if they don't enact the ACA subsidies, the Republican Party at that moment is burning to the fucking ground, and apparently they don't care. Didn't he do an indie movie called Shock and Awe? I don't know. Somebody like Will may be able to answer that better than I did. He's a big movie guy. I like movies, but I'm not as deep into them as somebody else. Spacer, freaking Nicki Minaj trying to get attention by buying into Trump train as they brace for a violent impact. She's starting a feud with Newsom and spreading anti-LGBTQ messaging. These people will never learn. Nicki Minaj. She's untalented. She's despicable. I don't like Nicki Minaj. I don't see her with any fucking talent. Granted, I'm 65 years old and I sound like those kids in the rock music, but There are a lot of current artists that I can appreciate their talent. Nicki Minaj, Kanye West do not fucking get it. Um, and this is the thing. I'm surprised that people are still holding on to Donald Trump at this point. You would think that they could see that he's starting to fade, he's starting to spiral, starting to circle the toilet bowl. He's not gonna come out of this. He's not going to redeem himself. He's not gonna become popular again. Whatever's going on now is gonna continue to be bad henceforth. This is what narcissists do. They spiral until they ultimately crash. And Donald Trump is getting very close to crashing. It's gonna be interesting to see what they do after he crashes. Are they going to back off and say, "Yeah, I never liked the guy"? Well, I gotta tell you, it's too fucking late. All of you people that stood by Donald Trump up until this point, there is no time for you to walk this back anymore. You can't walk it back. You've done what you've done. You've done everything you could to damage this country, undermine democracy, hurt people. You don't get a pass on that, even if you talk badly about Donald Trump after this is all said and done. It's over. You fuckers are unredeemable. And if you think you're going to get sympathy or if you think you're going to get forgiveness, maybe some people out there will do it. I sure the fuck won't do it. What do you think about the Trump crying to the ICC to give him worldwide immunity if he and Hegseth aren't doing anything wrong in the Caribbean? Then he has nothing to worry about. Yeah, that's an interesting point. Here's the first thing you have to understand. The United States of America doesn't recognize the ICC. So if they prosecute and convict him, they can't come here and pick him up. Now, if he goes to the wrong country, that could be a problem. That's why Bibi Netanyahu and Vladimir Putin are careful about where they go. But the ICC doesn't have control here. But what Donald Trump is more concerned about is perception. He wants a Nobel Peace Prize, but he doesn't want to be convicted of war crimes. Even though he can't be touched here in the country, he doesn't want that perception. I mean, I don't know why he'd worry about it at this point. He's an insurrectionist, a treasonist. He shits his pants. He's got a fucked up orange face, and he can't speak a full sentence. I don't know why he's still worried about perception. The perception we have of Donald Trump is pretty fucked up. But part of it may be, too, that he's trying to see if he can bully the ICC. You better not do that or we're going to sanction you. You think they fucking care? You think anybody cares about Donald Trump at this point? There are fewer and fewer people that are afraid of Donald Trump, and Donald Trump is losing ground every day. Here's something. Donald Trump always likes to claim that he is a master negotiator. He makes the deals. No, he doesn't. He's been talking about all these deals he's making, and none of them are done. He claims he stops 8 wars. One of those wars was between Thailand and what was the other one? Cambodia. He stopped that war. Then they started up again. Then he went back over and he said, "Well, I stopped it again." And now they're started up again. He hasn't done jack shit. He was supposed to have done a deal with China where they would buy megatons of soybeans to save the farmers. That never got done because there was never anything signed. There was never any specifics given. Donald Trump goes in, says a couple of things, says, "Yep, I win," but everybody else loses in the end. And here's the one thing that's interesting. Remember this whole thing about how Donald Trump cut a deal with China and Larry Ellison, and they were going to buy TikTok, and it was going to be great, and it was all going to get done, and it was going to have to get done by March. Remember that? Well, you put out the other day that we may have to extend that. We're still negotiating the deal. No, wait, motherfucker. You told us you had a deal. Now we're still negotiating a deal? I don't think Donald Trump has any deal for TikTok. I don't think he will ever have a deal with TikTok. I think he's doing what he's doing to continue to delay shutting it down, and he's grifting money from TikTok. TikTok is handing over cash in order for them to continue to work. I will tell you this about TikTok as I sit here on Substack. Get a little tired of TikTok. When I first started 5 years ago, I spent about 6 months watching it, just seeing what happened on TikTok, and I found it very entertaining. So then I started creating on TikTok, not knowing what to expect, and that went pretty well. So for a long time, I got to create what I wanted to create. Whether somebody wanted to see it or not was a matter of, do they want to follow or don't they want to follow? It worked out for me. And what we watched on TikTok was great. I got to tell you right now, there are a bunch of things going on. First of all, anybody in the creator fund, which I am, if you're in the creator fund, your views are down and you're making about 15 to 20% of what you used to make in the creator fund. They're trying to phase that shit out. And frankly, I'm not interested in making TikTok money if they're going to cut me out of the equation. Um, the other thing is we see a lot of AI produced shit and a lot of TikTok shop shit. Now, I bought things off TikTok shop. I don't sell anything on TikTok shop because that's not what I do. That's not what I do. But that's all you're starting to see. And I think they're already ruining TikTok at this point. This is why I tell people watch Substack, watch Facebook, not Facebook. I got kicked off of Facebook. Watch Substack, watch YouTube or Spotify. You can get all the same things there. Why do so many people keep saying we won't have midterms? Because they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. We're going to have midterms. See, this is what people do all the time. You know, they're the woe is me people. Well, everything's terrible, everything's fucked. We're just gonna lose. Well, if you have that attitude, go sit down someplace because we don't have time for you. There's going to be midterms. If there wasn't going to be midterms, why are they so frightened? There isn't going to be midterms. Why did we have this election in Tennessee? Why did we have all those elections on that Tuesday where the Republicans got wiped out? Donald Trump will say something, well, maybe you'll go to war and then we won't have elections. No, dumb fucks. We've had plenty of elections during wars, World War II, Vietnam War, all of that. Well, that's all bullshit. This is the problem. There is a lot of Democrats that listen to what Donald Trump says and they fucking believe him. He said he's going to do this. Oh my God, what's going to happen? He's a pathological liar. He's a dumbass. And most importantly, whatever Donald Trump says or does, you can bet that in the end, he's going to fuck it up. There's going to be midterms. Don't worry about that. Seems like it's coming from Democratic talking heads. Well, here's what you have to understand about Democrats and Republicans. They're all politicians. And they will all say whatever the fuck they have to say to spin their narrative. The Democrats are trying to instill some fear too. Not having elections, do you know how complicated that is? It's dealing with the Constitution. And here's the other thing. Donald Trump isn't currently getting stronger. He's getting weaker. He's getting weaker every day. You're acting like this is 2018 and Donald Trump could do anything. That's not the case anymore. He's weaker now, and he's going to get worse as time goes on. I'm tired of people telling me the sky's falling. Oh, we're not going to have midterms, and we're stuck with Donald Trump forever. That motherfucker is going to be lucky to make it to April. Have you seen him lately? And when he dies, you're going to watch the Republican parties try to reset and try to make them out to be more normal. They're going to try to be more normal, even if J.D. Vance is the president. J.D. Vance isn't somebody to be afraid of. J.D. Vance is weak and easily manipulated, and that's what the Republicans will do. JD says, I appreciate your takes on things. Thank you. Well, thank you, JD. I appreciate it. And understand, these are just my takes. And these takes are based on what I see and what makes sense as to how it's going to work out. Some people will come to me and say, oh, you were wrong about that. Well, no shit, motherfucker. I've been married 42 years. If you talk to my wife, I'm wrong every goddamn day. I can be wrong. And I'm okay with being wrong. Doesn't hurt my feelings, doesn't hurt my ego. If I'm wrong, I say, okay, I'm wrong. Now what's next? That's all you got to do. Spacer says, I saw your discussion with Jace on Crockett. One thing she has working against her in her run for senator is the latte left. They're going after her for a bill she signed off on aid for Israel. I think the bill was for general aid, not military aid, but they continue the bullshit. There are some sources that keep perpetuating this, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was coming from the right and the left, like Plattner. Crockett isn't the establishment first choice to run for the Senate. They are angry that she pushed out Allred because that was their guy. Allred? Hasn't that fucker lost 2 elections? He's not even really a goddamn Democrat. He's trying to be a centrist. He's trying to ride both sides of the fucking fence. Fuck Colin Allred. I don't care what he does. I wouldn't vote for that motherfucker for anything. Jason made a good point. I think we're seeing a turn in the parties. People are tired of the Schumers and the Pelosi's and Hakeem Jeffries. They want fighters, and you got to say, she is a fighter. She is a very tough fighter, and that might get her elected. Jace made a point, though. This is Texas, and she's got a couple of things working against her. I said, "What's that?" He said, "She's a woman of color." And I hate to say it, but in a state like Texas, that could be a factor. Sad, but true. But it could certainly be a factor. I don't like the fact that Tallarico and Jasmine Crockett are battling in the primary to go up against either Cornyn or Paxton. I don't like that. I think Tallarico is a great candidate. I think he is one of the people that are the future of the Democratic Party. He's not a fighter per se, but he's smart and he's strong and he's articulate. He does have a religious background, but he usually follows what the Bible says as opposed to polluting and tainting it like the evangelicals do. I don't know how that will all turn out. And as I said, when they have this primary with Jasmine Crockett and James Tallarico, I don't really care who wins. The primary isn't of concern to me. The main concern we need to have is that we win. We got to do whatever we have to do with anybody we could possibly do it with to eradicate the Republicans. We need to eradicate as many Republicans as possible so we can try to right this ship. So if Jasmine Crockett is the one to beat Cornyn or Paxton, I say go for it. But if Tallarico's the one to, I'm cool with that. Either one of them would be a good choice. I'm just thinking, we always hear about how the perception of the Democratic Party is that they're weak. And to a large extent, that is due to the leadership in the Democratic Party. They are fucking weak. People say, how do we change the perspective? How do we change the opinions of the Democratic Party? Well, it's easy, motherfucker. Take out the weak people from leadership and put strong people in there. You have strong people in the Senate. You have strong people in the House, in the Democratic Party. Kick the weak fuckers out, put the strong people in. Your perception changes instantly. Fixed. Fucking do it. Jose says the idea is no matter what you gotta do, back the blue. I agree. I mean, we're in the middle of a dumpster fire, and we've got to put out that fire. We've got to get rid of the Republicans to the greatest extent as possible. We got to get rid of as many of them as possible. We've got to make them weak. We've got to make sure they have no power, and we got to try to fix things. And the other thing is, once we get there, where we are fixing things, motherfuckers better be patient. There's been a lot of destruction in this bitch. It's going to take a while to fix it. Nothing in government moves very quickly. So we're going to have to take the time, or we're going to have to keep voting Democrat to continue the fixing of this country. That said, as I've said before, I hate all Republicans. They need to go. I like most Democrats, but there's some of the Democrats that are a problem too. They're a problem when it comes to Roe v. Wade. They're a problem when it comes to minimum wage. They are a problem when it comes to voters' rights. We need to put a microscope on the Democratic Party. We need to pick out the problem the problem children and kick their asses out. That's what we need to do. Spacer says, that's why I worry about Sherrod Brown. He's the milquetoast type politician. At least that's what he's becoming. Amy Acton is a new voice and people are receiving her, but Schumer is so butthurt over the establishment dying out. That's why he's pushed Sherrod Brown to run for the Senate again and Tim Ryan to run for governor. Tim Ryan is a centrist piece of shit who lost like Allred. He lost against freaking J.D. Vance. Brown lost against Moreno. That tells you that you need to know about Ohio DNC. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You know, Sherrod Brown, I would like him in there better than I would like Moreno in there, of course. But we need some young blood. We need some people with fight in them. Sherrod Brown seems to be a reasonable guy, seems to be a reasonable Democrat. But we're in a battle here. We're in a fight, and we need fighters. We don't need people warming the seats, collecting their paycheck, and doing some insider trading. We don't need that shit anymore. You know, somebody said something on a TikTok. It was just a young kid. And he said something very profound. And I hadn't thought about it, but I tend to agree with him. But what he's saying is pretty significant. He said, our democratic system, our system of government, because we elected somebody like Donald Trump, and he in turn placed the people in his cabinet, you have to wonder if our entire system isn't broken completely. And that makes a lot of sense. I mean, if this governmental system found a way to elect the absolute worst person that could have been elected, somebody that's trying to tear apart our country, you have to question the system itself. And I've said this before, that after this is all done, we need to look at some major changes. I'm not saying let's not be democratic anymore, but we need to build some higher guardrails, create some laws. They always tell us that no one's above the law. But as far as I can tell, if you are a president or a member of Congress, you're above the law. If you're going to tell us that, let's make it all the same for everybody. Maybe we do need a dramatic shift in our government. Maybe not a total overhaul, but a shift enough to fix the many problems we have. Because if Donald Trump did one thing positive for this country, he exposed all the loopholes, all the weaknesses, all the failings of this democratic process. We thought people would stay in the guardrails, that they wouldn't cause problems or risk breaking the law. But all you have to do is get somebody like Donald Trump in this motherfucker, and he proves that there's nothing left to stop him. So I think we do need some massive changes in government, how we do business. It's absolutely got to be done. Jose says, I agree. Our entire system is broken, and I believe it's from the inside out in some ways. Oh, no question. You know, what you have to understand, you look at Donald Trump, and you would say that Donald Trump's administration is the most corrupt in history. And that's probably true. But it's also because he's a clumsy fucking clown, because he's incompetent. A lot of this corruption, a lot of these things going on in government have been going on for decades. But members of Congress and presidents have been successful in keeping it under the radar, so we don't know about it. Donald Trump's not capable of it. He can't help. He can't even come close to shutting his mouth. So everything that's corrupt and criminal floats to the top. And this is what Donald Trump has done for this country. He's exposed all the bad things that go on in our government, some of which have been going on for a long time, and we just weren't aware of it. So in that sense, it's good. Now when Donald Trump is gone, we know what's what, and we know what we need to fix. And hopefully we will be able to do that. Hopefully we will start to get things straightened out, put in some protections for the future. Because I'll be honest with you, it's not just the Republican Party that could come up with a crazy candidate that could get in and break all the rules. The Democrats are capable of that too. We need to shut it down and try to place the control where it should be, and that's with us, not with senators or congressmen. This country's roll downhill started at Nixon and the Spiro Agnew issues when they were allowed to get away with what they did, or at least relatively. It was open season for the political opportunists. If you saw the movie Oppenheimer, there were some shady stuff going on with the AEC and uranium trading with ally nations. That's why we tried to silence Oppenheimer. But no, they were given a big bomb and the checkbooks flew open. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I'm saying. There was corruption even back then. If you're looking for the beginning of our economic problems, you could look back to Nixon, but it really started to hit home and things really started to happen when Ronald Reagan was in. Ronald Reagan was really one of the instigators of all this stuff, getting rid of the Fairness Doctrine, getting rid of well, he wasn't Citizens United, but that was yet another problem, and that's one of the first things we have to do is get that out of here. Citizens United. This means you can pour as much money into any election, which means whoever has the most money generally wins the election. That's not good in this country. That's what we've had up to now, and we can see what it's given us. It's given Donald Trump the presidency, the Republicans control of the House and the Senate, and nothing's getting done. Well, the few things that are getting done are part of the destruction of this country. Do you think the Republicans and the entire group will do the 25th Amendment? I don't think so. There was a time I thought they might, but I don't think so. You've got to get all the members of the cabinet on board with this. I think you're more likely to see an impeachment. And I think if you see an impeachment, it probably comes after the midterms when the Republicans get wiped out. At that point, they can't help but believe that Donald Trump is now a liability, no longer an asset. They need to straighten some things out so they can make some kind of showing in the 2028 election. I think he's more likely to be impeached, especially with some of the shit he's doing, than a 25th Amendment. I trust Congress more than I trust his cabinet, which ain't saying much, but I do trust uh, the Congress. I mean, we're seeing the Congress already pushing back on him. We're not seeing the administration doing that. We're not seeing Pete Hegseth or Marco Rubio. I think it's more likely an impeachment. And I think an impeachment by the Republicans is conceivable. And think about this after the 2026 election, Republicans will have control of the House and hopefully the Senate, and he will definitely get impeached. Now, whether he will get convicted and kicked out, assuming he's still alive, will depend on how many Republicans will be tired at that point and will vote to kick him out. I think they need 2/3 vote, 67 votes. They need 67 votes, and if the Democrats win, they're probably not going to take control by a lot, maybe 3 seats maximum. So they'd be at 53, and then you'd need some Republicans to vote. But at that point, they might be well ready to do that. Part of my mind is that they may stick with Trump until the midterms if they let the subsidies die. They really don't care. Republicans in Congress, I mean, they won't. Tracy says we also need to do something about the extremely corrupt court of the United States. Yeah, actually, Tracy, that's one of the first things we have to tend to. We have to tend to the Supreme Court. They are problematic to say the least. They are criminal. They are corrupt. Alito and Thomas, first and foremost, but Kavanaugh and John Robert, they're all problems too. We could try to impeach the Supreme Court justices, especially if we have control of the House and the Senate. But I've thought there are a couple of things we have to consider. If things are going badly after the midterms for the Republicans, theoretically, what you might see is Alito and Thomas retire so that they could be replaced by Supreme Court justices picked by the Republicans or the Federalist group. So that may happen. If they stick it out through the election, through 2028, and they're still in office after a Democratic president takes over, I would suggest a couple of things. The president, whoever that might be, needs to pack the Supreme Court. There are 14 circuits, or is it 14? 13 circuits throughout the country, and we have 9 Supreme Court justices. Each one of them is supposed to cover and oversee a circuit. Well, we got more circuits than we do have Supreme Court justices. So conceivably, it makes sense that we would add 4 more justices. And if we can do that with a Democratic president, we can balance things out. The other thing I suggested, too, is if Alito and Thomas are still in the Supreme Court after a Democratic president is elected, if I'm the Democratic president, I would go in and I see Alito and I see Judge Thomas, and I say, listen, you motherfuckers are criminals. We're going to investigate you and prosecute you and put you in motherfucking jail. Because guess what? You may have given Donald Trump immunity, but you motherfuckers don't have immunity. And you, without a question, have broken the law. Or we could do this the easy way. You just retire now, walk away quietly, and we'll forget about you. They could put that kind of pressure on them. They wouldn't do it officially. We would never know if it happened, but that'd be something I'd consider if they're still around after the new president, a Democratic president, presumably. Do you think the Republicans and the entire group will do the 25th Amendment? What do you think of Katie Kristi Noem leaving the hearing? Like I just said, I don't think they'll do the 25th Amendment. I think they're more likely to impeach him because Congress has more balls than his administration. Kristi Noem leaving the meeting, she was an absolute embarrassment. She was called in by Congress to testify. That's one of the main parts of her jobs, to suggest halfway through the thing, oh, look at the time, I got to run, I got this thing. Kristi, you have nothing that's more important than this particular one. You're tired of taking the heat, and you took off, presumably to go to another meeting, which we found out later was canceled. She bolted because she was terrified and didn't know how to answer the fucking questions. Spacer says, Trump reminds me of this Grandpa Simpson quote. My Homer is not a communist. He may be a liar, a pig, and an idiot. A communist, but he's not a porn star. That's literally Trump's speaking pattern. Yeah, it's true. Will joined us. Hey, Will, what's up? Doing a little Substack Live, talking about some of the shit going on. This week's going to be a busy one, as I've said. On the 19th, on Friday, they're supposed to release the Epstein files. But will they do it? Will they try to find some way to hold back the files? Well, if there's some reasonable or unreasonable way they can say, well, we got to wait on the files, you can bet they will do it. I'm not as worried about the files because I think we're going to start seeing some leaks out of the DOJ. There are reasonable people working in the DOJ that hate the leadership. They know what the law says, and you may see this shit leak out. I think we're also going to see more pictures from the Epstein estate by way of the Oversight Committee. We've seen about 50 to 70 of those pictures, but there's 95,000 of them. Yeah, we're going to see more shit, and from what we understand, some of those pictures are absolutely horrifying and disturbing. I got a kick out of how Trump and the White House said, well, they're just cherry picking pictures to make Donald Trump look bad. Okay, let's release all 95,000. Then we won't cherry pick them. We'll get to look at every goddamn one of them. I wonder how Donald Trump would like that. I'm guessing probably not. Wilfredo says, "Come get your weather." Not sure what you mean. I'm not sure what the weather down in Georgia is, but this past weekend it was cold as a motherfucker here. I'm talking 5 below, 10 below. I know it's not that cold in fucking Georgia. Tracy says they gave president full power. A Democratic president should just fire the corrupt Supreme Court justices, at least the way I see it. Well, I don't know if you can legally do that, but if there was a workaround, yeah, I agree with you. Yes. Wilfredo's talking about the FBI. I talked about this Brown University shooting in Rhode Island. This is about a tragic situation at another school. This is 75 school shootings this year, 379 mass shootings this year, 13,936 people were killed in shootings this year, just this year. And it was interesting. This shooting happens at Brown University. It was terrifying for a lot of folks. Shortly after the shooting, Donald Trump comes out and says, "Hey, we got the suspect in custody." Only problem is they didn't have a suspect in custody. Donald Trump lied. He put people at danger, people that were thinking they were safe that this gunman was gone. Well, that was an embarrassment. I think he tried to walk it back a little bit, but not completely. And then shortly after that, we hear that they have in custody a person of interest. Oh, cool. Maybe they got him. But then a couple of hours later, they release the guy because he's the wrong fucking guy. So here we have the incompetence of the Trump administration, the incompetence of the FBI. I understand um, the police in that area are talking shit about the FBI and how incompetent they were. This is what happens when you have clowns running departments. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. And now we still have a shooter still at large. SM says, how long do you think they're going to keep the second strike on the Venezuela boat hidden? Long as they can. That was the funny thing about it. Well, why don't you just play the video? Well, we got to look for national security issues. Hegseth, you don't have any national security anymore. You're telling everybody everything on fucking Signal. And here's the funny thing about it. You showed the first video, no problem. You were proud of it. You've showed videos of every other boat strike you've had because you're proud of it. Somehow, this one little video about the second strike is problematic for you. Might be against national security. This is what Donald Trump's organization, his administration will be known for. Fucking cover-ups. Hegseth, cover-up. Donald Trump, cover-up. Pam Bondi, a cover-up. Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, all covering up. This is the stuff that's going to come back to haunt them when Donald Trump is gone. There won't be any accountability as long as Donald Trump controls the DOJ. But the moment that's over, the moment we have reasonable attorney general, reasonable president, these people are all going to be called on the carpet, and they're going to have some splaining to do, and they won't be able to explain it. There's going to be some prosecutions. In Trump's and other Republicans' mind, it happened in a blue state. They should pass a law for open carry. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. That's what they probably think. But again, 75 school shootings last year, not all in blue states. 379 mass shootings last year, not all blue states. Donald Trump loves to talk about, the thing about it is when we're talking about guns or health care or any of this shit, Donald Trump doesn't know a fucking thing. He doesn't know anything. He just parrots whatever somebody has told him that he thinks will make him popular. Not working too well these days, unfortunately for him. Um, well, Fredo, to Trump, Rob Reiner didn't like me. He deserved to die. Yeah, you think the Republicans got mad when Charlie Kirk died? You think what happened after Rob Reiner dies and what Donald Trump said is atrocious? Wait till the big one hits. The one we're all waiting for. It's going to be like a combination of Mardi Gras and Christmas and New Year's Eve all around the country. People will be that joyous when that fateful day comes. Republicans will be appalled. Well, how can you say that? Somebody died and you're being mean. Well, fuck you. Fuck you. We're all going to be happy because we will hope that we can try to start fixing this country instead of continuing to destroy it. What's your thoughts about was Rob Reiner passing was not political? Hold on. What's your thoughts about Ukraine getting out of NATO? Well, they aren't in NATO yet. They're asking them to not ask to be put in NATO. Yeah, I don't know. That whole process is going to be hard anyway, because um, because Russia's going to fight against that all the way. We need to get some kind of peace plan there. And if we can do it by keeping them out of NATO and not having Ukraine give up territory, then I'd be for it. But Vladimir Putin hasn't made any concessions. He wants a total surrender, and there is no way that Zelensky's going to agree to that. Rob Reiner passing was not political until Trump made it political. Absolutely. Not only did Trump make it political, but he made it all about himself, as he is wont to do. You're absolutely right. That killing was a family matter, frankly. Had nothing to do with politics, I don't presume, unless his son was a rabid Trump humper. I can't imagine, but it's possible, I suppose. All right. Rob Reiner was making a documentary about Trump. Well, that's interesting. Many people will be hung over for weeks. Yeah, a lot of people will be hung over after the orange after the passing of the orange dipshit. As I've said before, I can only hope that it's on TV, on camera, and as embarrassing as it possibly can be. I want Donald Trump's last moments to be an embarrassment because that's the thing that bugs him the most. Spacer, freaking New Year's Eve, when the big one hits, aliens will see party lights shining in the sky as the whole world lights up for a party. Yeah, here's what we should do. Remember when Prince died? Everywhere in the world, Eiffel Tower, Empire State Building, they turned everything purple. They turned everything purple. I think when Donald Trump dies, um, we should turn everything orange because that's the color he's known for. Uh, they'll be dancing in the streets. It'll be Mardi Gras. It'll be fun as hell. I'm looking forward to it. Will says Trump can't even flip a goddamn coin. Yeah, this guy is not very cognitive, and he was to flip the coin at the Army Navy game. He was no doubt getting booed even by those folks, and he held it out and he just threw it in the air, and it didn't even flip. But nobody was going to do anything because nobody wanted to embarrass Donald Trump. You don't have to worry about that. Donald Trump's perfectly capable of embarrassing himself. Great news in Hungary comes from Spacer. Some child sex allegations against the Orban government. Trump's buds across the world will also face the music that Trump's method of government doesn't work. How they haven't got that already, I don't know. Humanity as a species sucks sometimes. Yeah, I'd have to agree with you too. That's my biggest problem with Trump fucks when I talk to them. You've seen what you've seen. You've heard what you've heard. You've experienced what you've experienced, and you still don't fucking get it? Please, motherfucker. What are your thoughts about the US buying all the Ukraine drones? US is gonna buy all the Ukraine drones? I don't know much about that. You're gonna have to expand on that, or maybe Will can tell me because I'm not familiar with it. I don't even know what would be the purpose of that. We have our own drones. Fuck, Donald Trump just gave his son $100 million to make drones. Why would we need Ukraine's? By the way, Will says, notice the quiet Christmas shopping season, no money. People are skipping meals. That's the thing about Donald Trump. He keeps trying to tell us that prices are down. Fact of the matter is whether you're Republican or Democrat and you walk into a store, guess what? Prices are up. You can gaslight people all you want, but when people go down there with their meager payroll checks and try to feed their families and can't, you can't gaslight the motherfuckers. You can't lie to them. And people are realizing it now. Even Republicans are starting to realize this. And Donald Trump, this is the thing with Donald Trump. Everybody says, well, he's going to do this, he's going to do that. The economy's going to shit. He gets bad publicity about deportations and detention. He's got the Epstein files. He's got the double tap video. He's got so many things working against him. He can try to make himself look good, but it's just not possible. He can't juggle all these things. And this is what's going to cause the crash. Spacer says, we don't need those pencils anyway. Yeah, he's talking about how Donald Trump says, well, if everything's too expensive, your daughters don't need 37 dolls. Buys their kids 37 dolls. And then he goes on the pencil rant. Donnie, this isn't 72. We're in 2025. Who uses fucking pencils anymore? Jesus Christ. ISM says actually Ukraine has shown the U.S. better technology and drones. This is why there's money to buy that technology. Well, if Ukraine can make some money and help their battle with Russia, I'm all for it. It's kind of ironic that Donald Trump would want to do that. He wants the best drones, of course, but then he funds Ukraine. I wonder how Vlad, his girlfriend's, going to feel about that. See, Trump drones just like the cell phone and the sneakers. Yeah, no doubt. Will says, I told you that Congress was not going to pass the ACA subsidies. Well, we still got time, Will. We still got time, but not much. And I'm beginning to think that maybe you're right. Maybe we won't get the ACA subsidies passed. And it's going to be devastating for a lot of people. And it's going to pretty much dismantle the Republican Party. If they're stupid enough to do that, well, go fucking ahead. The other thing to remember, too, is the continuing resolution they signed only goes till January 30th. Democrats can shut this country down again. And we'll see if that happens. There's talk of Zelensky having a presidential election and having the people vote on whether to let Putin keep the land he has. Yeah, I see what he's doing there. Do you want to get out of war and give him what he wants, or do we keep fighting? Let the people of Ukraine decide that. I suppose that's reasonable. I don't know that they're willing to give up the land, but we'll see. Mike Johnson is a weasel. Yeah, you're fucking right. He's a weasel. They have alternatives, plans that suck. Yeah, well, everything sucks today. I mean, this is the fucking world we live in. It's just fucking ridiculous that we have to deal with these atrocities every fucking day. It's upsetting, and people are stressed, and we're going into the holiday season. People are not going to be happy if their holiday season is ruined, whether they don't have money or just too much stress to get through it. Uh, Corporate Democrats will kiss up. Well, yeah, that's distinctly possible. They could possibly kiss up. We need to make some changes in the Democratic Party, and this is what I was talking about earlier. We need to get the weak people out of leadership. We need to get stronger people in there, have different tact when we go up against the Republicans. If you are a Democratic candidate today going into the 2026 midterms, you better be a candidate who's ready to fight, who's ready to talk shit, who's ready to get in their faces. Because if you don't, you probably won't get elected. People are tired of the pussyfooting around. They want somebody who's going to fight, like a Jasmine Crockett or some of these other people. Um, Whether we'll get that or not, I don't know. You would hope the Democrats learned a lesson from 2024. But we've said that before. The Democrats just don't get it. Spacer says, I saw the Fetterman interview. A stroke cleansed the progressivism out of him, and he's a new man and ready to not support funding health care also. Yeah, there's a guy who's not going to get reelected. If he does, I have a lot I would have to say to the Pennsylvania constituents. You vote for that dumb, uh, mentally diminished fuck, you're asking for trouble. Explain to me why Trump has a presser every day. Well, you know Donald Trump. People are talking about him being cognitively diminished, that he is weak, he's not well. This is what Donald Trump will do. He'll stand up there every day to try to prove his point and prove that everybody else is wrong. What he doesn't understand, every time he opens his mouth, it just makes people think he's worse off. But this is dumbass Trump strategy. That's what he's doing. Judy says, I know President Zelensky wants peace, and he's probably tired too, but I hope he stays strong. Judy, I think Zelensky would stay strong if it was just his decision, but I'm sure he's concerned about how the Ukrainian people feel. They're going through a lot of shit. Their lives are disrupted, have been for some time now. He needs some validation. I think Zelensky wants to fight on until they win this thing. But he feels like he's got to put it out to the constituents, to the citizens, just in case he's wrong. I think that's a reasonable thing to do. Let's try to see what people think. If they stand behind Zelensky, then they will fight on. If they're just too tired, I can get that too. I don't think Zelensky wants to make the choice to give in ever. But if the people of the country want to do it and just be done with it, you got to go with what they say. Can you imagine that? A politician listening to his constituents and doing their bidding. Be nice if we got some of that done in this fucking country for once. Trump going after women in press reviews within disrespects can turn back the women towards Democrats. Well, you would fucking hope so. I found it very funny that we are getting a revolt in the Republican Party. Nancy Mace, Luna, some of these, Marjorie Taylor Greene, they're revolting against Mike Johnson and the Republicans because they don't feel like they're being treated right. No shit. Did you read the Project 2025 fucking document? The whole thing is to make women second-class citizens, make it so you don't count. That's why they overturned Roe v. Wade and did all this stuff. And now you're surprised that they want to marginalize you? For fuck's sake. The far left has gone after Crockett. Tallarico is not a good candidate. He will get stomped. I don't know that he'll get stomped. I don't know that he'll win either. Tallarico is a good candidate, but I think in this particular race, he's not experienced enough. He's not strong enough. Jasmine Crockett has name recognition. She's kind of a rock star rep. That will help, and she's a fighter. That will help as well. There's also talk they want to pressure the Taiwanese president to concede or start the concession to China. just Trump trying to get on Xi's good side. Yeah, that's not Nancy Mace is revolting too. She's revolting and she's revolting. She makes it on both senses. Makes sense. That's a good president. Um, James says, good evening. Shelly Sofer says we need Jasmine. Yeah, to be honest with you, whether it be Tallarico or Jasmine Crockett, I just want a Democrat in the Senate for Texas. That's going to send a strong message. Somebody like Cornyn, who's already in there, or if Paxton wins the primary, that motherfucker is a criminal. He is the most corrupt, most criminal motherfucker in politics, second only to Donald Trump. He's that bad. He's absolutely that fucking bad. All right, I'm going to wrap things up here. We've been going for about an hour. I want to say thank you to all the people that joined me on this live. You make it worth doing the live. You make the live worth listening to. And I'll keep doing Substack lives because I really enjoy this. It's much tamer, and I don't have to worry about Trump LaFux. And for that, I appreciate it immensely. For those of you listening, I want to thank you for taking the time to do that. I hope you have a great day, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.